there's also the idea that a lot of African Americans live in homes where from the time they're 7, their fathers say to them, be a man.
Yeah, yeah.
So even the things that are caught inside of the homes and taught inside of the homes are going to make some of these kids, things that don't seem like they're bad things to say, man up.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think in many white homes a kid falls, hits his head on a tree, comes home crying, and their father's going to say, man up.
Man up. Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
so there's that.
Yo, yo, yo! The world may not need another podcast, but it could definitely use a slap. That's right. Welcome to Slap the Power, a show that blends artistry with advocacy. And today is a very, very, very special day for me. It's kind of part of the reason why I was inspired to kind of set this up and do this show and everything. I'm gifted, blessed today to have not only as our interviewee, but also as a guest host today. I'll give you, this is a podcast or an audio medium, but for the people that are, watching at this on the YouTubes and the visuals, you see this, but for those that are in the audio medium, I'm going to tease this a sec. He is the voice of character Lester Grimes on the HBO series Vinyl, created by Martin Scorsese and Mick Jagger. I've never actually heard of those people, but maybe some people have. He studied drama and music at Carnegie Mellon University. In addition to his work with his first band, Dakota Moon, he was also he was also the best contestant on Rockstar INXS. His music career has included parts in Broadway musicals Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, Pippin, Songs for a New World, Grease, and We Will Rock You. He's best known as the lead singer of a band you might hear about all the time on this show, Vintage Trouble. He recently released a stunning and original jazz album called the Nouveau Mid-Century Romance Songbook. He was the best man at my wedding. He's my best friend and all around one of my top favorite human beings ever on planet Earth. Please welcome the one and only Mr. Ty Taylor.
Thank you. It's so interesting. Whenever you do a show like this, you assume that, most of the background information came from Wikipedia. So
It did.
Yeah, I was just paying attention to stuff. No. There's a lot of stuff that's left off. So.
No, it's a ton of stuff that was left off.
That was me just saying, like, there's more than what.
Yeah, no, I know there's a lot more, and we'll get into it, and that's what I'm kind of stoked about. I wanted to put that out there for people that actually don't know, that might be coming from a different angle, and it's obviously I knew all the stuff because you're my best friend and everything, but the part of the reason this platform exists is because the opportunity to help people. You're the truest artist that I know that I've probably ever met, as far as you just channel things into art always. And I feel like we've been blessed because if you help one person with a song and it comes back, you realize, the offering to God, the work is being done. This particular issue, for those of you that saw our previous episode, Maya and Casey, star of Daz It, Dad's All, and Maya, my regular host here, they did part 1 of a 2-part series on something I just actually even sort of found out about. I knew the context of everything, why this is, but I didn't even know the word adultification. And this is part 2 of a 2-part series, the adultification of Black and brown children. And you say, why do I need to hear about this? Why do I need to learn about this? And like a lot of things, awareness or just even being aware of a problem is the first start, right? And that's where I feel vehicles like these are particularly effective. And one of my most in this area, in this lane, one of my most sort of transcendent artistic experiences is the last song on the jazz record that you have on hand. And I'll let you kind of get into that, but it is the most truest sense of kind of synthesizing a concept that is horrific into art and into clearing and catharsis for oneself. And that was the reason, probably the main reason why I was inspired to have you as the co-host on this. Maya, they did the girls episode on the girls' perspective on the adultification of Black and brown children. And so I appreciate you trusting me and coming on this show to be, co-host on this with this topic as well, because I know it's particularly, it's a sensitive topic. I appreciate the girls even putting me here. Why is a half Cuban white guy, why am I talking about this? But I believe that's what makes it even more potentially powerful, is that there's not only data, but it's great to hear from somebody that's kind of lived this. And you might say to yourself, what is adultification? What does that even mean, right? And why do I need to care about it? And it is basically our children growing up way faster than they need to. And the reality is, and Maya kind of quoted this in the first one, a lot of teens are in a hurry to grow up. I was in a hurry to grow up. Were you in a hurry to grow up when you were a little kid? Did you want to be like, did you want your driver's license and shit like that? Like,
I didn't.
You didn't?
No, I mean, because I don't know, maybe as a kid, maybe because I started performing when I was so young, I was always surrounded by adults. So I basically spent my life living in an adult world. My siblings were all 10 years at least older than me. And so I never really thought about wanting to be older because, I mean, besides driving, and I wasn't really that excited to drive. I just have nightmares about driving, so I wasn't really thinking about wanting to drive.
No, what were the nightmares about driving? Just
always being behind the wheel of a car.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'd already had sex by the time I was 8
Sure.
years old. So.
Who hasn't?
No, I mean, but I literally had, so that's different.
Oh, right. Yeah, fair. Sorry. Sorry, Charlie Murphy. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's good to laugh about that.
Yeah.
No, I didn't think about growing up fast. But I know most people do.
Yeah, and like a lot of people, I was sort of shook because I realized an extension of slavery. Like a lot of people, Ava DuVernay's documentary, 13, kind of laid out how, okay, well, when slavery ended, when Emancipation Proclamation came, and then Reconstruction and everything, the next move was to incarcerate people, because that's basically that's the way that we now, modern day slavery is incarceration, and our incarceration rates are through the roof and things like that. But how often do people that aren't of color concentrate on the realities of how the Black and brown family and people of color, how that family has sort of been systemically eroded?
Right. Well, I think one of the really quick things is that on the surface it might seem like, and this is not me obviously saying anything negative about Ava's presentation, but incarceration, yes, is the next stage. But then what about all the stages that aren't seen? Like if you talk about the 5 senses, and there's a 6th sense that's just kind of flying in the air and these kind of things.
Yeah.
99% of what we are experiencing we don't see.
Yeah.
So I personally don't think incarceration was the next step, because there's so many types of slavery that African Americans live all day long on the streets that people are unaware of why it's happening. So there's a slavery, according to old slavery, that doesn't have to do with being behind a person. So that's my thought about it.
Yeah, no, well, that fair point. And I think, to kind of piggyback on Maya's information and the stuff that she gave me, but basically there's been a bunch of research that has been released as of late that kind of lays this out in a way that it feels like its time has come as far as raising this issue, because one of the things is the study found, and we'll credit this in the show notes and things like that, but it was recently published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, and it found that African-American boys as young as 10 years old are significantly less likely to be viewed as children than their white peers. It also suggests that it could have serious implications for the way that African-American boys are viewed by the criminal justice system and society as a whole. And there's a Georgetown study, which Maya referred to, and basically it shows Black male children were consistently singled out as troublemakers and received disciplinary action 5 times more likely than their non-Black counterparts. Black youth are more than 4 times as likely to be detained or committed to juvenile facilities as their white peers, according to nationwide data in 2019. And a couple of states, this has gotten better since this study. It was in 2019, and there's some, but most of them are still shitty and going in the wrong direction. And so, to your point, there's a systemic issue. If you have people that are, like you said, there's a different form of slavery if you can't if you can't get a job. There's a different form of slavery if you're caught in the system and you're, homeless. And there's a different form. There's all kinds of different forms.
Yeah, there's some kind of slavery if you're talked to differently, or if you have to question the words you say because you're afraid that it won't get you into not only a university, question the words that you have to say because it won't get you into a job. And also, besides the things that were listed before, there's also the idea that a lot of African Americans live in homes where from the time they're 7, their fathers say to them, be a man.
Yeah, yeah.
So even the things that are caught inside of the homes and taught inside of the homes are going to make some of these kids, things that don't seem like they're bad things to say, man up.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think in many white homes a kid falls, hits his head on a tree, comes home crying, and their father's going to say, "Man up,
man up." Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
so there's that. Or do you want me to give you something to cry for?
Yeah.
So they're all
there. Although my dad gave me that shit.
Right,
that's for
right.
sure. Shout out to Chief. Yeah, but yeah, it's
so there's that kind of thing that makes people grow up, and then only because the statistics are higher for African Americans with separating, being single parent homes.
Yes. Yeah.
So then obviously the guy, the 7-year-old guy at home with his mom, he actually is the man of the house.
And that's why I was bringing up the incarceration point earlier, is because the sort of systemic mission was to just remove the male figure out of the center of the house, right? And so and then that way you can erode the black family. Any way you can incarcerate them means that they can't vote. And if you can pull their vote out, you can steal elections, which, they've been doing for a long time with respect to gerrymandering and just manipulating the political system to where minority rule still happens. And it's basically because of a system that's sort of holding.
By gerrymandering, do you mean nigger rigging? No. That's where it comes from. They've changed gerrymandering was not a phrase.
Yeah, right. It's in the Webster's dictionary now as this technical thing.
But they've taken it back.
Yeah. But the reason why I was also so interested to talk about this issue with you is because we spent so much time together, and we've seen different parts of the world that sort of kind of treat this situation differently. But it seems in America, the original sin is still part of the problem, and it is one of the things I want to do is try to figure out, well, how. First of all, like I said, raise the awareness, and then second of all, how can people help, right? And how can a lot of people who know me knows I also grew up around black family, and there was no father figure there, and there was a lot of in a primarily black neighborhood. Actually, it was all black neighborhood. There was most of the families that I would play with my friends in that neighborhood did not have a black male role model in the household. And it never clicked with me because my mom and dad divorced when I was very young. So I just kind of, you think it's the clique where, you can take advantage of your mom, right? It's if you want to be a little mischievous teenager, that's kind of a good thing. I never actually looked at it as a bad thing until you start to realize you have kids, or you have friends that have kids, and you realize how important the balance of everything is. Was there a point that you realized that was there a point that you sort of realized around your neighborhood that any I know you also grew up in Montclair, which is a slightly different.
I wasn't around single family.
Yeah.
Single
but
parent families.
Where was your first experience where you kind of felt like you were sort of singled out by the police, for example? Did you have an experience where you were like,
I didn't.
No.
I which is the problem, only because it was probably happening,
all around.
In the black neighborhoods. No, but I say that. Sure, no, sure. I say that to say, I did grow up in a neighborhood where it was mixed, but it was at a different financial home status level,
Yeah.
And so I didn't think about it a lot when I got older. I actually was teased because I seemed like I was growing. A lot of the people that looked like me assumed that I didn't like them because I acted like the people that were unaffected by being pointed out. People didn't look at me and think that I was trouble. I just didn't have one of those. I didn't put out that kind of energy, and it's kind of affected me a lot as I've gotten older. Like, so a lot of this adultification you're talking about, I guess I just skipped over a lot of the stuff that would make it apparent in me.
Yeah.
Like, when the whole George Floyd thing went down, I'm the friend that everyone came to ask, for forgiveness,
Sure.
for the way, white people have treated black people over time, the way white kids, how they, would tease black kids. They were all coming to me to apologize, but they were only coming to me to apologize because I was the safe choice, because I was the one that, that seemed, they didn't do this consciously, but they were coming to me because I seemed like the African American that was least affected by being black. And so it was easy for them to come to me because I wasn't going to lean into them about the stuff they hadn't done. I was going to speak to them in the way that they were used to being spoken to, and it would have felt great. It would have felt like a nice, evenly leveled, balanced, great communicated therapeutic session.
Yeah.
So they came to me because it was going to be easy.
Yeah.
When I look back at it now that I've been doing a lot more studying about the things that I kind of glazed over because I was either in a better neighborhood or because I didn't want to seem like people that were acting meaner than me. So I missed it. But now that I've been studying a lot of it, I realize more and more every day about the problems that African Americans have as we get older.
Sure.
And it's really, now I can't watch anything that reminds me about all of the judgment that I had toward other African Americans that seemed to be carrying the seed of the situation that we were in with them, people that were carrying the seed of slavery every day because it hadn't still been fully dealt with. I used to look down on that energy only because I was thinking about the things I were taught, things about good manners, the things about how to speak to people, the way to communicate perfectly when you're in a job situation, the way that you're supposed to talk when you're doing a college interview. When I was in school, even we had the points of great speech. So I was even told I was saying my last name incorrectly my entire life. I was saying Ty Taylor, and he was like, "No, it's Ty Taylor." And so they corrected my name for me. So all this kind of stuff. So I was
for people that kind of don't understand that, explain that. Like the why.
Well, in phonetics, there's a way. When I was in college, there hadn't been an Ebonics talk yet.
Okay.
We hadn't been the Ebonics dictionary. They hadn't talked about regionalisms. Actually, they separate us sometimes in great ways, just like an accent. Like we love a good Southern accent sometimes, but not if it's a Southern accent that lifts his, thing up and wants to put the R at the end of that N word.
Yeah.
It's not a good accent.
No.
But there are lots of points of speech that we learn. And so basically what those points of speech are is it's kind of homogenizing us to look like we look, but speak like white people, and then so that makes us seem like the house inwards. Yeah. And so I basically had been living my life like a house nigger, and it's been hard for me. And I feel, I do therapy, so it's like don't feel guilty. I feel guilty, but guilty in a way that I deal with it every day. So I'm trying to get rid of the guilt by doing the work, and until I do the work, it wouldn't be fair of me to not feel guilty because I've never done anything physically to anyone, but I've had a lot of judgment in my mind. And I've gone through periods where I'll even separate different parties and different friends because I knew not to ask this person not to be a certain way, but I didn't want to put them in the same room with another person that I would then have to juggle about that tie that's pretending to be white. And the tie that is black. You put these people in the same room, and they're going to go at it, and I'm going to have to stand in the middle of them like fucking Switzerland. Yeah. And both sides feel like I'm betraying them. So my adultification, it actually has to do with becoming more black.
Which is fascinating to me as well, and I love it. And as your friend, you've always been an inspiration in general to so many people, but I love the blossom. I love the even more empowerment. And it's funny. I'm going to put the link in the show notes, but I was talking to Bree the other day about how you on stage, anytime I've ever seen you with another artist, you always go up to the line. But you won't pass the artist, right? You'll put it right up there, and I know you, and I'm like, okay, that's Ty at 90%, but that's class that he's leaving that 10% for them, on the stage. It's a fucking bananas performance. I saw it yesterday. It made me cry. I wanted to call you right at the time it was going. I was like, no, I'm going to save it for the show. Because it was I guess I could say the artist. It was with Joss Stone and the Knock on Wood. And I was like, I was showing our associate producer Bree this, and I was like, you just got to see this because it's a master class in almost how you played to the. It's like you played to the frame that's around that is still. Looking back at it now, it's less than the frame that you are, right? You just stopped at where that person's kind of stature is and everything. No props to Joss Stone. He's fucking amazing, and the whole performance it's kind of live. But when you came out, it's such class that you would leave that space for other people to be themselves. But now looking at you, 7 years later, 10 years later, or whatever. It's a beast, and that guy was a beast in that video.
Right.
This is a different kind of beast where you are now, and so it's.
But then when you kind of partner with something like that, I always think that it would have been a worse performance had I tried to do everything I could do.
Right.
Because then it becomes about someone trying to outdo someone, or someone being insecure enough, being so insecure they're going to try and outdo someone.
Yeah.
So the second you step on stage with two featured people, it's about collaboration, and the second that one steps over that, to me, like how to have those versus things, like sometimes if people are singing together, you're comparing whatever.
Sure.
The second you step over it, you lose.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Well said.
Because then again, if you have more, then you should treat it like a pressure cooker, and then you get to give as much as you have. People feel it, but they know that you're keeping it going wild at a certain peak.
Yeah.
You're not just being boring or
Yeah.
doing less of yourself. You're doing the same amount of yourself in a smaller container.
Yeah. I had a moment as a kid. You're aware of this, and where it was right before my 21st birthday. It was about I want to say a week before, and I was out hammered, just being done. It's like, how were you drinking when you weren't 21 yet? This is a sidebar. We were at a Hooters Christmas party, but. The funny thing is, we had done some drugs in the bathroom. We had gone out and smoked a joint. I was already drinking a bunch of Long Island iced teas, and the drugs that I had taken at the time was some hallucinogenics, and I had no business behind a wheel. I had no business behind the wheel, but we had a place where we had a kind of an after party set up that was a couple of miles away from where the party was, and I was driving to that. I went the wrong way down a one-way street. I got pulled over by the cops. I had an ounce of weed in the dash, they handcuffed me, put me in the back of the car, but then walked me to where the party was, and basically they let me go. And I remember I was coming on my acid trip, and I remember coming through the door and being like, they were like, don't ever fucking do this again. Don't ever let us see you do this again. And this is a early birthday present from the Tampa Police Department, right? And it shook me to the core and everything. But that wasn't even something until George Floyd and some of the conversations you and I had after that, to where I actually got a chance to sort of go back to that moment and realize, if I would have gone to jail in that moment, my life would have changed. I was, and you don't get out of the system. And if my face would have looked, a different color than it did, I would have been arrested.
Right.
Especially in Florida. It's something. Did you ever have? What's your first experience? You're lucky, but where was the first place where you kind of felt a different? Chris Rock has this thing where even when he's driving anywhere, he's like, even though he's Chris Rock, it's fucking, if he's driving in a red state or something like that, he's on full alert.
Right.
Did you ever have like a moment where you were like, oh, my white friends or whatever are treated differently than by the police?
Yeah, but I guess my guess would be that those stories are told enough. So I think in a way to deliver a unique kind of story, for me, I was the one. If I'm with my black friends and we get stopped, I'm pushed forward to be the person that speaks.
Yeah,
you and I even have a mutual friend. He and his brother and myself, we were coming out of Seventh Veil strip club. And,
As we do.
he got stopped and thrown against the wall, and, he was demeaned. And I had to speak to the cops. And this guy is one of the toughest people I know, one of the biggest guys I know. He's hands up against the wall, pants pulled down, them searching him. We weren't doing anything, by the way. And, and because of the fact that, again, in quotes, I might have that HN kind of personality. If you haven't been paying attention or if you just jumped on, that means house nigga. Because I was in that kind of category, I knew what to say. I knew how to get the cops out of it. And you think that I speak correctly regularly. When I started speaking to those cops, I didn't speak correctly. I spoke white.
Oh, word. Yeah.
And so I was giving them all that. But I've experienced it. I mean, I've experienced it. Besides that, my father was incarcerated when I was young. And it's because for a reason that he stood up for my mom. And because my mom was being harassed. I mean, not really harassed, literally just whistled at. And my dad, that hurt my dad's pride so much that he beat someone to almost a pulp. No, to a pulp, but there was still a heartbeat, so it wasn't murder. And so, again, he was defending his wife. If a white person was defending their wife, it would be, defending someone's honor. And, let's talk about that. And no, you don't have to go to jail. So I have had experiences like that. I mean,
we share.
Oh no,
that story.
I just remembered one. When I was 11 years old, I used to go I was already doing commercials and stuff, and I live in Montclair, New Jersey, but I would take the bus by myself to New York City. So I had to go to New York City for a costume fitting for a commercial. I think it was like Capri Sun or something.
Hey.
And I was walking down the street, and I got thrown in the back of the paddy wagon with all the kids that were playing hooky. So I got thrown in, obviously, because I'm black.
Yeah.
I was like, don't you see this Izod Lacoste shirt I've got on? This pink Izod Lacoste, these tan chinos, and these plain loafers. Like, I'm not cutting school.
I got stopped.
Right, but they didn't look past my neck.
Yeah.
And so they threw me in the paddy wagon. Of course, I get thrown in the paddy wagon, and it's only other black kids. So when I get inside that van, they know I'm white. The black kids.
Yeah.
So then I'm in the back of this paddy wagon, and they're ripping into me. And of course, they're calling me, faggot and white and, oh, look at you, because I'm literally crying.
Yeah.
And I'm in the back of this thing, and I'm thinking like, I can't say to these people I'm filming a commercial. So I'm just keeping my mouth quiet. The police precinct, we go there, and they call my school, and they find out that I'm not
black.
And then they found out that I wasn't playing hooky.
Yeah.
And then they just let me out of the precinct. They didn't take me back to where I was. They didn't take the 11-year-old back to where they picked him up. But again, if that was a situation where a police would have taken care of, was trying to reprimand any white kid, it found out that they were not correct, they were in the wrong, that they would make sure that their parents wouldn't have heard that the police let them go at the police station. That kid would have been brought back, if not to where they picked him up, where he was going to.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
for sure.
So they just let me out on the street.
Yeah.
And so that was a situation where I definitely knew being black was making me feel different. But as an adult, I didn't think about it that much.
It's funny. We have the same story, and the result is exactly as you say. One of my earliest memories was a guy hitting on my mom. My mom's Cuban. And younger, like it was a Cuban restaurant we were in, and my dad wasn't having it and assaulted a guy, and it was definitely a different situation. If my dad would have been black, I'm sure he would have been incarcerated like your dad was, and it's one of those things where we are in the 2023. About to be going into 24, and it still, what I kind of ask myself, like, what can be done, other than trying to figure out where are the role models, right, in the communities where it has become, sports figures and things like that, and so you have great models like your LeBron James, and you can go down the list, but in places where I take that back. They throw their money around. Oprah throws her money around to help people and things like that. Same with LeBron and stuff. But where are the sort of civic leaders? Because when it came up sort of before we were born, they would just kill the civic leaders, right? They would just get them out of the way, the ones that would kind of show the way on how to sort of rebuild the family structure in Black and brown communities. And that's the place where I feel like it's an economic issue as much as it is, sort of cultural or anything else. But I do believe, and we've lived it, and you've shown it to me. Art can be one of those ways that can kind of seep through in a way that is empowering. And one of the areas that was new to me was the hypersexualization of Black and brown women. Now, growing up in like a primarily or around a Latin neighborhood, it was kind of the same thing with the women. I remember the girls would just be would be pregnant so early. And then when we moved to Tampa, or when we got set in Tampa, you realize that was we were in more of a suburb environment, and it was a lot less. But the hypersexuality of the children feels like, do you think that's an extension of not having a father figure there, or a strong family unit, or is it just sort of the culture and the way that our advertising and things like that are now?
I mean, I haven't done a statistics search about it, but I mean, I would guess it's a lot of different things. I don't know where it lies as far as looking at a graph about it, but I know a lot of times it's also because of social media now. So yes, it could be a home thing, but anytime a kid turns on their computer,
yeah, exactly.
They're gonna, especially women, girls at that time, they're gonna dream about how life could be as they get older. And if there's a makeup shop, if there's a bra shop, if there's a way to wear a tighter skirt, they're going to see that, and they're going to try and go to that shop or that store and emulate it. Like we watch so often those movies, like or TV shows where the woman comes down the steps, the girl comes down the steps, and the father's like, "No, you're not."
Oh yeah, sure.
But in real life, I think what really happens is most kids are smart enough they're not going to come down the steps like that.
Yeah,
they're going to have something in their bag.
Yep. Yeah,
and they're going to do that change when they get out of the door. So there's no way to really stop them from doing it. And now, of course, the difference is kids get to watch porno.
Yeah.
It used to be that you couldn't find it. You can find it everywhere on the internet. So the women and the guys and everything in between, the women and the guys, you're gonna try and get to whatever is gonna make you feel the most adult or seeming like people will want you.
They hit on this on the other episode on like the situation with like how back used to be with Jerry Lee Lewis or Elvis marrying a 15-year-old, 16-year-old, or R.
Mary and Joseph.
There you go. Really going back. OG.
That's the whole thing. 13 and 42.
Hey. But or R. Kelly on how it was like, and the trope that they kind of threw around was, well, women back then, or even now, there was a, why wouldn't they want to be with an older guy and stuff like that? And that's just awful. It's really awful, especially now because of so much pressure that's placed. I think that there's a strong statistic I saw, which basically it's hockey sticks on the invention of the front-facing camera, and Instagram made the rise in female teen suicides just go shoot through the roof, right? And it's because of this sort of the perception of the self-image, and we have dear friends that have kids that are in that age range that are dealing with it all the time and stuff. And I kind of feel like as we do what we do and everything. Was there ever a time? You don't have to get into anything you don't want to get into, but I know, that do you remember sort of feeling hypersexualized as a kid because you had sass or you had style, or you kind of you were badass from a very, very you were badass out the gate. Your middle name's Nazareth, right? But you were, and do you have a hypersexualized moment where you realized that if it wasn't you, was it around you, where you were like that it was
right.
Hypersexualized?
Well, again, there are all these things that go when people talk about subjects like this, you think about like you don't have to be Jodie Foster against an arcade game in a short skirt to be sexualized. I don't have that moment of doing anything to have anyone be attracted to me and think that it'd be cool. But that's just people's personalities. Predators are gonna be predators.
Hey, yeah, no, yeah.
But for me, it was just really about proximity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
Like it's just who's the closest to the horniest person. Their eyes are
Sure.
closed. Their eyes are closed. They're just reaching over.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Any port in a storm.
it's like it's not. I mean, yes, you can sexualize yourself as a kid just because you're excited about a celebrity that maybe you want to be like, so you dress a certain way, and then maybe that's going to lure people on. But that's going to lure in, the punks.
Yeah.
That's going to lure in the amateurs.
Yeah.
The professionals are the ones that are going to be like it's like the priest that's going to lure in the person that's not dressed sexually. They're in church. They're the kid. They're so advanced, that kind of predator. That it's not about being sexualized. They're going to go with the person that seems the least sexualized because for them.
That's a good point.
That's clean. That's blank canvas.
Yeah, right.
That's whatever their demonic mind thinks. It gets off more on something that is, pure snow.
Yeah.
Fertile soil, not fertile soil.
Yeah.
Dry, flat soil, I guess.
Yeah. Fair.
Because you're right. It's which is crazy. So for me, again, it wasn't about being some young kid that was exciting and sassy because I was still shy. I was still the smallest kid in the classroom, and even though I was already a professional actor. Mm-hmm. I didn't wear that around. When I was around, I had to not be that way in order to not get beat up by the people that were bigger than me and tougher than me, that would be insecure by the fact that I was making dollars already.
Yeah.
They're going to find a way to be mad. No. They're not going to find a way to be mad. They're already mad. They're going to find a way to torture you. So I didn't flaunt mine at all. So, I was kind of like prime.
Yeah.
If there's a predator around, I'm the one they're going to find.
Yeah.
Because I'm the one that seems like an angel. And for them, it's sexier to destroy an angel than it is to destroy a little devil.
Yeah. No, fair point. The song on hand and every time I see it, I have a lot of trouble even just because you mean so much to me, and it's always even hard to go through. And at the same time, I know you use that as catharsis, and so we're going to put a link to the record and inside the show notes and stuff. That way, people can kind of check it out on their own. But I applaud you on your way on the journey as far as how you synthesize things into productive and creative and positive, things.
Mm-hmm.
And
again, because maybe this is a unique perspective on it. My superpower being able to synthesize and to see the cup as half empty as half full rather than half empty. It's been a huge thing for me because it's allowed me to be successful early. It's allowed me to be surrounded by great people. It's allowed me to be the kind of person that can be optimistic and spread that and teach that and radiate that. But also at the same time, the fact that I haven't carried some of the anger from some of the things that I had as a kid, it's made me feel a little bit like ignorance is bliss. Like maybe so much of my joy and so much of my unique optimistic energy is because I've blocked something out. And so I'm not going to.
Do you think that's I'm actually appreciating the ability to do that nowadays in a way that is not oh no I'm paying attention to something that doesn't need to be paid attention to, but I'm not letting an energy in at a time that I'm not fully prepared how to.
I think it's different as we get older opposed to during your formative years. Because if it happens during your formative years, then you just sweep stuff under a carpet. Yeah. Emotionally and mentally.
Yeah.
So yes, in my life now, I do that. I almost didn't even come because I'm already tired of dealing with you. No, but like in my life, I do that. But that's now.
Yeah.
Back then, what I want to say is I can't think of it as a negative thing. I just know that it happened.
Sure.
Because without it, I might not be in California. I might not be sitting behind this mic right now. I might not, look like this. No, but all those things that have brought me to I don't want to say that I want to poo-poo the idea that I've been an endurer. You know what I mean? And that my resilience is like a trampoline.
Yeah.
But I think it's made me miss some important things. And I'm glad that I have an awareness right now in my life that I'm not even angry at myself. I said I feel guilt, but I don't feel angry at myself. I just know that I don't have a whole lot of life to live, not double the life that I've lived. So I'm more eager to get the real answers. So
Yeah.
it doesn't make me upset or angry. It makes me eager. I chomp at the bits to find the information that I've been negating all my life and figure out how to use that now. And so everything feels new to me. The way I choose clothes, the colors, the fact that I want to wear as many colors as possible, the idea that I can sing differently, the idea that, that I can write differently, that I can sing songs, like the meaning of songs that I've sung all my life, they mean something different now. Like, I'm Saturday, I'm singing Respect for something. And just when you read the lyrics and sing the lyrics, it all means something different to me as the person that's choosing to dive in to the hurt that comes in the adultification of African Americans.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And thank you again for trusting me here. And anyone, another part of this is you're not alone. And Maya and I, when we talked about this, and Maya, brought the idea for these two shows to me. We wanted to make sure that people know they're not alone, and you brought up a great point about how your formative years are a lot. Everything is sort of happening to you, and as you get older, you realize everything happening for me, and the difference. And so for anyone that kind of feels lost out there, we're going to put the information for the Boys and Girls Club of America and for the Los Angeles Urban League, both of which are sort of resources on ways that can help people in inner cities and people of color, children of color, and things like that. And before we get out of here, just to kind of lighten it up as well, I like, and this is interesting to me because it's a dumb game, but it's really cool. You pick two cards, you have to answer one of them though.
Okay, but why don't we answer it under the umbrella and
of somebody else?
No, of African American adultification.
Okay, I love it. Like so am I the patriarch or the matriarch?
You have to answer it honestly and include adultification in it.
I love this. Okay, so go ahead. Choose one.
As an African American, I'm gonna have you choose first.
You can pass.
I'm gonna. So it doesn't feel like you're giving me an order.
Great. So this one is: do you let little things get in the way of the big things? That's a softball. I feel like that one's too easy.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
because it has to do with adultification.
All right, cool. So the way that I do not let the little things get in the way of the big things is don't grow up too fast, right? Is because you need to give yourself time to figure things out. And
slow down.
Slow
You're
down.
Moving too fast.
Yeah.
Feeling groovy.
The Indie that one?
No, that happened to be Simon and Garfunkel.
Oh. There's the Indie one too. With slow down, baby, you're going too fast. Anyway.
She just ripped them off.
Yeah, she might have. Yeah, you're right. We should look back on it. But as the
she's taking it back from all the
goes,
stuff that white people took from black people.
Hey, do what you got to do. But so yeah, I would say I don't anymore. I work really hard not to let any kind of the small things get in the way of the big things, and that's because I don't. I learned from the adultification of other kids, and I don't want to be that. So.
Okay, perfect. My question is, what do you have first of all, there's no question about this. I need my glasses. What do you love about your hometown?
That's softball. As an adultification from a perspective, yeah.
Yes. I do this, right?
Yeah.
Then keep it down.
Can just keep it down?
So,
keep it down.
Okay. So let me see. What do I love about my hometown? What I've learned is because of my hometown, it saved me from a lot of the heaviness that a lot of African Americans go through in the process of adultification. But what I love it for that reason, but it's a love-hate relationship because I also hate the fact that it visored a lot of the things that if I had seen them shining as bright as they did, I might have dealt with some of the things I'm dealing with right now a lot sooner.
Fair. Mr. Ty Taylor, thank you so much for coming down. Thank you for being here. It is, and thank you for trusting me around this topic. I appreciate it, and I look forward to all the future synthesis that is to come in sort of taking these things and weaving them into good for people and continue to do it. So thank you again for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Slap the Power is written and produced by Rick Barrio-Dill and Maya Sykes. Associate producer, Bree Corey. Audio and visual engineering and studio facilities provided by Slap Studios LA, with distribution through our collective home for social progress in art, Slap the Network. If you have any ideas for a show you want to hear or see, or if you would like to be a guest artist on our show, please email us at info@slapthepower.com.